Greetings, I am Hellhound, and welcome to my show. I wanted to do a movie review today, but I couldn't really decide on one, so I narrowed it down to 5 options, which were The Omen, Poltergeist, Phantasm, The Amityville Horror, and The Shining. And, so I'll put them all 5 of them on my bed, close my eyes, shuffle them up, and then randomly pointed to one, then open my eyes, and it happened to be The Shining, which is good because I already reviewed It and Pet Sematary, so this will continue with my Stephen King adaptation reviews. So yeah, today we'll be looking at The Shining from 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick, who I don't even think I need to explain why he's considered one of the greatest directors of all time. I mean, he's just amazing. He did 2001, A Space Odyssey, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, and just several other amazing films. The man can do no wrong. And so, this movie's no exception. Now, it's based on the Stephen King book of the same name, and this movie actually differs from the novel quite a bit, so much that Stephen King himself didn't like this adaptation and ended up, writing the screenplay and being much more involved in his own version of his own novel in the 1997 TV miniseries The Shining, directed by Mick Garris. I'll talk more about that later. And yes, I have read the book. The book is my favorite. I think that it's definitely one of King's greatest works, and I like it better than both movies. However, I like this movie much better than the 97 version, even though it doesn't follow the book as closely. It's not as faithful of an adaptation, but it's still scary as hell. This movie's terrifying. It's one of the scariest movies ever made. The 97 version, not so much. But anyway, I'm not going to spend the whole review comparing the book and the two film adaptions. Let's just talk about the 1980 version first. Alright, so the basic premise is that a family of 3, consisting of they're the Torrances, the father, Jack Torrance, the mother, Wendy Torrance, and the son, Danny Lloyd. Danny Torrance, sorry. Danny Lloyd's the actor that plays him. Jack Nicholson plays Jack Torrance, and Shelley Duvall plays Wendy Torrance. And so, Jack just got a job as a caretaker at this huge, very nice luxury hotel, a very nice resort up in the mountains called the Overlook Hotel. It's a really, really cool looking place. I would love to go there someday. Unfortunately, most of this was actually filmed on a movie set, but I think the exterior shots, that was a real place. And it was actually, in the book, the hotel from the book was actually based on the Stanley Hotel, I believe it was called, or the Stanley Inn. And I think the 97 version might actually have been filmed there. I might have that mixed up, I don't know, I need to research, but, so don't quote me on that. But anyway, just a very nice, hotel, very spooky though too, especially when everybody leaves and the Torrances are left there alone for the winter. A torrential snowstorm emerges. Danny actually possesses a kind of clairvoyance, a psychic ability. He can kind of see the future. He can read minds. They actually don't. It's called. They refer to it as The Shining. The cook at the hotel, Dick O'Halloran, played by Scatman Crothers, actually explains to Danny about the ability, since he also possesses The Shining. But they don't really go too much into depth about what all Danny can do with his powers. But he does have like an imaginary friend type thing. He says lives in his mouth, and he kind of manifests itself as his finger. And Tony, he talks to his finger. his finger tells him the future, Tony. In the book, Tony was actually like a future version of Danny himself, and he would see an actual physical manifestation of Tony. He looked more like a human. He wasn't his finger in the 97 version. Followed up upon that by doing the same thing. But I thought this was kind of an interesting way to do it. It was I heard it was actually Danny Lloyd's idea to talk to his finger and have that be Tony. But anyway, yeah, so O'Halloran leaves, and, you know, everybody leaves, everybody packs up, and, yeah, during the torrential snowstorm, the family starts seeing ghosts, you know, including the lady in the bathtub, that's one of the scariest scenes in the movie. She strangles Danny off screen, and then Jack, the father, goes and investigates, and she at first appears as a young, beautiful woman, then turns into an old, decaying hag. And that was definitely one of those frightening scenes in the movie. That freaked me out when I was a kid, that's for sure. They also encounter the ghost of, Jack anyway, encounters the ghost of a man who stayed there last winter. He was the caretaker, and he ended up killing his family with an axe, his 2 twin daughters, who are also ghosts in the hotel. You know, come play with us, Danny. Yeah, he killed his family and then blew his brains out with a gun. And so, yeah, he's one of the spirits there, too. There's just all kinds of ghosts, and all 3 family members see them. Danny's tormented by them the most. He sees the 2 twin girls in the hallway, you know, begging them to come play with them forever and ever. It's very creepy stuff. This is definitely one of my favorite ghost stories, like my favorite haunted house movie, even though it's like a haunted hotel. Anyway, what happens is Jack was an alcoholic, and he's now newly sober because he accidentally broke Danny's arm during one of his drunken outbursts, you know. And so, yeah, he's given up drinking, and yet after him and Wendy get in kind of a fight, yeah, she thinks he's the one that strangled Danny, when it was really the bathtub lady from room 217 in the book, in 97 movie. So he sees another ghost, Lloyd, the bartender, in the gold room, which is just awesome. Later on, it gets full of ghosts. Such a cool place. I want to go to this hotel so bad. I want to live there, in fact. But anyway, yeah, he thinks he gets some alcohol, and Grady, he's alternatively referred to as Charles Grady and Delbert Grady in the movie. I'm not sure if that was, if Kubrick did that purposely or if it was like an accident, but he has 2 different names. Anyway, Grady convinces Jack that he needs to kill his family, just like he did himself. And so Jack grabs an axe, pretty much becomes a maniacal psychopath, and pursues his family all through the hotel in an attempt to chop them up into little pieces. And so they can all be part of the hotel forever and ever. They don't really go... in the book, the spirits that inhabited the hotel they wanted him to kill Danny and absorb his powers into the hotel so that they would themselves become more powerful. They don't really give a motivation in the book other than, you know, Jack's an insane alcoholic, and that, you know, he's just listening to their influence. But, yeah, this movie has several scary scenes. The music, oh gosh, the score is incredible. This is one of the best, most spookiest soundtracks I've ever heard. Like the scene when Wendy's running through the house, terrified, and she sees all the skeletons in the lobby, and she's terrified. The music that plays during that scene is just intense. It just really sets the tone. They did a phenomenal job with the soundtrack. The blood coming out of the elevators, too, that was just, you know, the music playing during that scene is just amazing. But yeah, this is definitely one of the best horror films ever made. You know, and some people criticize it for being so different from the book, but honestly, I don't care. I think they did a great job. I would appreciate a few more things from the book, but they were a little bit lacking in budget. They couldn't do the living hedge animals. They had to replace it with a huge hedge maze instead, which is where most of the climax of the movie takes place, when Jack's pursuing Danny through it with his axe, you know. But, you know, and so there's a lot of other things omitted that were from the novel, The Wasp Nest, you know, several plot points. The whole character of Horace Derwent is absent from this movie. He was an important part of the book, though he might have been referenced to. There's a scene when Wendy sees a guy in a bear costume performing oral on an older man laying on a bed. I think the older man is supposed to be Horace Derwent, because he had a lover in the book that was he's bisexual. He had a lover in the book that wore a wolf mask, and they showed that in the '97 movie as well. All right, well, yeah, that about sums up the Shining from 1980, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Great film, great horror movie, great ghost story. I give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's just perfect. Maybe not a perfect book adaptation, but definitely a perfect horror film. Very scary, very effective. Stanley Kubrick's a genius. All right, well, I guess I'll talk about the '97 version a little bit. Now, the thing is, in this movie, Danny is now played by Courtland Mead, is the actor's name. He was also in Hellraiser Bloodline, briefly. And Jack Torrance is now played by Steven Weber, and Wendy's played by Rebecca De Mornay. Now, everybody does a great job. They're all great actors. The thing is, Courtland Mead as Danny is a little older than Danny Lloyd was, and he has a little more to do. In the novel, I think he was like 5 going on 6, and this one, he seems more like 10. I think they refer to him as like maybe a 9-year-old, or something. But he's definitely older. The thing is, he's a good actor. He's very convincing in this movie. You really believe that he has psychic powers. You really believe that he's seeing the ghosts and seeing all the scary stuff. He has some genuine acting abilities for sure. He's very convincing. It was very believable, as was everybody, especially Melvin Van Peebles, who plays the cook, Dick Halloran, this time. He's just awesome. I love him. It's hard to pick between him and Scatman Crothers. I don't know who played a better Halloran. They were both really good. But anyway, yeah, Courtland's Danny was very good, but the kid he just annoys me. Like, I don't know, like, he's got this weird duck mouth, and like, I don't know, he kind of talks through his nose. He has a nasally voice, and he whines a lot. He's kind of irritates me. Like, and I know all kids are kind of irritating, especially in horror movies. I usually hate kids in horror movies. Some of the exceptions being Andy from Child's Play and Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4 and 5. But I don't know. This kid just irritated me. He was just really weird. Now, Danny Lloyd in the original Shining was he didn't really have much to do. He didn't have many lines. He was a little creepy too. He was a weird little kid. Both of them were kind of strange. But I don't know. For some reason, I just prefer Danny Lloyd from the original. Courtland Mead might have been a better actor. Might have gave a more believable performance. But man, he just kind of got on my nerves. I'm sorry. He just just the way I felt while watching this thing. Yeah, this has a lot more to do with the book. As I said, it's a much more faithful adaptation. King had a lot to do with it. Mick Garris directed it, but King was very involved. He was on board the whole time. He mostly criticized the 1980 movie because Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance was ready to kill his family by like frame 2. He was already seemed insane. And this in the book and this movie, Jack Torrance, it's kind of a downward spiral. He just he starts out as a very loving and father and husband, and he slowly becomes like more malevolent over time under the influence of the spirits in the hotel, which are done very well in this movie too. This one's just not as scary though. It's not really scary. There's too much CGI. The hedge animals, of course, are CGI. There's a CGI hose with teeth. I don't know. The soundtrack isn't done as good. It's just like more kind of sad than scary. This one's a little more emotional. I actually did feel bad for Jack Torrance in this one, unlike the original where he just was just a mindless psychopath most of all, except for the dream that he had that he was pretty upset about. But yeah, as I said, everybody does a good job in this movie. I would recommend it, especially if you've read the book. This one's a much more faithful adaptation. It includes several things that are absent from the 1980 version. And it goes into more backstory about the hotel's dark history. It had a very violent past. Lots of murders took place there. Lots of bad stuff going on. And Horace Derwent is a lot more prominent in this movie than he is in the book, I think. Jack actually encounters him quite a few times. He kind of becomes the main antagonist. I don't think he was ever really shown, or I don't think Jack ever really met him in the book. It's been years since I read it. It literally was like back in high school. Or actually junior high, I think. But yeah, I mean, this is a very good movie, though. It's a very good miniseries. It's a lot longer than the original, of course, since so it was shown in 3 different parts on TV when it first aired. And I was very happy that it finally got a DVD release. After watching it on TV all those years and having to wait until the next part came on, like the next day and stuff. And you can actually watch them all three back to back now with the DVD release. But yeah, I would definitely recommend both movies. Read the book for sure, and then definitely see them both. They're all good in their own way. The novel, of course, is the best, and this movie is great. It's just a great film. Very scary, very suspenseful, very highly effective horror movie. Which I can't praise enough. I'm sure there's all kinds of things I left out of this review. I could talk about this movie for literally hours. The Shining. Stephen King actually wrote a sequel to his original novel called Doctor Sleep, which apparently depicts Danny as an adult dealing with, I think, like a gang of people who also have The Shining or something. I haven't actually read the book, and I purposely haven't researched much about it. I haven't read much about it because I don't want to be spoiled when I actually finally do read it someday. It's definitely on my read list. I've got like all these books I need to read. I'm always reading something, so. But I'll let you guys know what I think of it as soon as I do read it. But yeah, it's pretty cool that I just kind of wish that it'd take place in the hotel again. I wish there was like a true sequel to The Shining, you know, like with really all the elements returning. The hotel was actually blown up and burnt to the ground in the book in the '97 version, but I'm sure they could rebuild it. They actually hint at that at the end of the miniseries. But yeah, alright, well, that concludes my review of The Shining from 1980, and I also talked a little bit about the book in the '97 version. So, until next time, when I'll probably be reviewing one of these. Let me know in the comments which one you want me to review. The choices are Amityville Horror, Phantasm, Poltergeist, and The Omen again. So yeah, let me know which one you want me to review, and I'll get to it. Alright, thank you for watching. I'm Hellhound, and until next time.